A lot of you may be wondering how my aim is so good on my Star Wars Battlefront 2 streams. And no, it's not because I'm using aimbot. It's because of the tips and tricks that I'm going to show you, as well as some in-game settings. This is the ultimate guide to aiming in Star Wars Battlefront 2. Let's get right on into it. Timestamps are on screen now, but I do suggest you watch the whole video so you can take all the information in. The first topic we're going to cover is pre-aiming. The reason pre-aiming is so important is because it allows you to get the first shot in an engagement, which puts you at an advantage. This forces your opponent to either go into cover or just lose the engagement because they decide to shoot at you even though you have a health advantage. A good way to start pre-aiming is to make sure you're always aiming down sight a second before you peek out in a mid-range lane. This ensures that when you peek out the lane, if there is an opponent there, your crosshair is near or on them, so you're ready to take a shot and take them by surprise. Once you have learned basic pre-aiming, you'll want to use the third-person camera to position your crosshair on the opponent perfectly before you peek. This is the second step to pre-aiming, and will make sure you get the first shot off way faster. Some people may say this is a really cheap strategy. It is, but if everyone uses it except you, that puts you at quite a bad disadvantage. If you really don't want to use the third-person peeking strategy, you can use your radar to get the information. It'll just be a lot harder to read than just looking at the opponent through a third-person camera. With this strategy, you want to make sure you are swapping from left to right shoulder on the third-person camera, and never swap into first-person. You can swap between shoulders by pressing down on the D-pad. Just make sure you don't hold it, because that puts you in the dreaded first-person view, where you have no situational awareness whatsoever. Next, we're going to talk about how to enter and exit an engagement correctly. If you don't do this part correctly, then you are likely to lose the engagement. The best way for you to enter an engagement is to roll left or right depending on where your cover is. Beware, you will need to adjust your pre-aiming accordingly so that your crosshair will land on the target when you finish the rolling animation. The best way to be evasive is when you roll out of cover, just take one shot or burst of your weapon and then roll back into cover. You know that you've perfected this move when you are rolling more than you are standing. You cannot perform this maneuver, however, if you've dodged in the last 1 second, since if you dodge out of cover, you won't be able to dodge back in for another second, since you only have 2 dodges. Against a decent opponent, this could lose you the duel since you are vulnerable. Now let's talk about what happens if you're losing the duel and you want to escape without dying. If you still want to kill the opponent, then your best bet is to throw a grenade and then roll back into cover. Most likely this will kill the opponent, but if it doesn't, it's definitely going to put the fight back on level terms in terms of your HP. Let's talk about tracking aim now. Tracking aim is the ability to continually hit shots on the opponent whilst they're strafing or moving. Tracking aim is where it sort of comes down to practice. There's not a lot of tips I can give for tracking aim, but I still can give a few. One of those few tips I can give is when the opponent is strafing, then they roll. When they are at the peak of their roll, so when their head hits the floor and they're just about to start coming back up, fire a volley of shots at head level, which is likely to kill them when they reach that height. A good way to practice your tracking aim is go into instant action co-op or instant action supremacy. There you will develop muscle memory on tracking opponents who are strafing left and right. Here is a short example clip that shows tracking aim at its best. Anyone in the chat, please tell me if that's okay. Oh! Oh! Stop trying to triple peek me, dude. If we just keep challenging this, we should be able to... Oh, why is there an enemy locking? Oh no, I'm just going to spray until I get him. There we go. Oh, he's down. Now, flicking aim is a topic, but there's not really much I can say other than go into instant action and you will develop the muscle memory of flicking to targets. A higher sensitivity is recommended for this. And sensitivity is in the settings, which is what we're going to cover next. I'll show my settings, then I will recommend some settings for new and more experienced players. Just a quick reminder that these settings are for controller players, although some of this might transfer to keyboard and mouse. So let's look at my settings. Now I can't show you any video footage of my settings because I've been keeping it a secret until now, of course, because now I'm showing you, but please don't copy me because that's horrible to do. For my zoom sensitivity, so when I'm aiming down sights, I play on 50%, which I think is really good for tracking people down. I play on maximum motion blur, but I don't recommend it. I only do it because I upload to YouTube and I want my videos to look like they're in high frame rates even when they're not. In terms of aim assist, of course I have it on. Everyone should have it on. There's no reason not to. Everyone does it, except when they're playing duels because it really obstructs your camera and annoys you. In terms of the settings for the new players, I recommend 60% soldier sensitivity, since that is a little bit fast so you can turn around if you need to and you're getting flanked. However, it's slow enough that you can track in hipfire mode. And I recommend 55% for the zoomed sensitivity and no motion blur whatsoever, as well as having aim assist turned on all the time, because that really helps, especially for newer players. In terms of the settings for the average population, I recommend 75% for the soldier sensitivity and 60% for the zoomed sensitivity with no motion blur, but that's not definite at this point. You can have motion blur if you want, say, a content creator like me. Aim assist on, of course. And that concludes my part. Now you just need to get there on the battlefront. Before you do that though, remember to smash the like button and subscribe to my channel so you can see more awesome content like this. I am Kai Gaming Sport and More, and I am checking out. Goodbye.